Hey, everybody, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new live double shot show that comes your way at 4 p.m. Eastern every weekday. And it's really different in a lot of ways, but in particular that you kind of discuss what you want to discuss, meaning those of you who are participating with us live in the comment section, whether that's on YouTube or other platforms, predominantly YouTube. That's just kind of how this rolls. And I'll come in every day and lead with a little something, and then we'll go to Chris Halleck, and we'll take as many of your questions as we can, and then wrap up business at the end. But it's a morphing thing. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to see and hear on this program. The thing that I want to bring up with you today is a hypothetical. And for those of you who are going to bite my head off and say, oh, you never want to talk about hypotheticals and fake trades and everything else here. And that's correct. But I think there's one hypothetical that's worth weighing, not even so much by us, but by the Steelers management themselves. And that would be this. What if Russell Wilson were to stay? Think about, first off, what would have to happen for Russ to stay? In my estimation, that means that they would not have signed Justin Fields, which means that it would be clearer than ever that they settled for their own plan B. No matter what you think, no matter what Russ thinks, their own plan B would be Russ. So you sign him to a contract and say, hey, Russ, we're so happy to have you. And he's like, yeah, I'm sure you are. That's a problem. Your second thing is what happens if you put him into a situation where he is the guy as opposed to the guy with some sort of younger 1B apprentice style, draft pick guy. And you say, this is it, Russ. We're paying you all this money. We believe in you. Honestly, we really did all along. And he's now given a younger player to work with. And that doesn't necessarily go great. There are so many other things I could share on this subject if it wouldn't get me in trouble with sources who trust me. So I'm going to stop this segment here, but let's let it simmer here that you would not want Russ back in that setting, in that circumstance, at this point in time, not after somebody else were to scoop up Fields and run off with him, and everything would be laid bare if it hasn't been already. Think about that for a second. It's not as simple as the old, pick Kenny or pick Mason days. There's a lot more to it. And unfortunately, not all of it is positive. Not all of it is just, the head coach was the Lone Ranger and he picked you, Russ. No, that's not what this would be. That's not what this would be at all. When we come back, going to be joined by Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joined now by Chris. You can tell I'm still not all the way above the surface here. Chris has been making fun of me.
No, but I get it. I understand it because we keep thinking about, or we keep just being like, okay, when's it going to get done? When's it going to get done with Justin? When's it going to get done? But what if it doesn't? It's a question that Omar and Andy Weidel and Mike Tomlin and all those guys, they have thought about.
Sure they have. I mean, you've reported that going back as far as late last summer. You had an exclusive report heading into the season that they were so enamored with what they'd seen of Russ to that point on and off the field that they were ready to make a long-term commitment. He was going to be the guy. And then he wasn't. And then I came in and hurt Robert Schaum's brain. Look at that. Damn it, DK, you hurt my brain. He says that segment should have hurt everybody's brain because it does put you in a spot where you have to go, wait a second. Like Rig Steele says, please, no Russ, because it's not going to work. There are enough people in that building of import who do not want him there. And that's not one kumbaya meeting away.
No,
it's just not.
No, it's not. And this is the reason why, because, I've, the comments that come back sometimes, especially when we've reported what you reported about, them wanting Justin back, that they don't want Russ back. And that doesn't mean that they're just going to burn the bridge. And this is the reason why, because if Justin Fields wants to test the market and the Steelers are like, you know what, we would rather have a quarterback wrapped up before free agency starts, so that when free agency starts, we can get anybody we want. We have the quarterback locked in. What if that helps with luring DK Metcalf in a trade? Who knows? Who knows what the benefits would be of re-signing Russ instead of re-signing Justin. But this is the reason why you don't just burn that bridge, is because you have to have other options, especially when the other options that are out there just flat out suck. I mean, they're bad.
There's a lot of flat out suck in that class. That's for sure. That's not to say that about the guys at the very top, but it is to say that about what happens after, I don't know, the third or fourth day. Let's put it this way. The most common, and I've done this, I've looked at a bunch of these rankings of the top free agent quarterbacks available. Now, those are subjective.
Yeah.
But when 4 on a lot of the lists, 4 or 5 is Jameis Winston, no.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's not the way you're doing this. So you have to keep Fields. I don't want to keep repeating that. You have to keep Fields, or else this starts to turn into something that's really just unattractive. Joe Lacheski says, or John Lacheski, oh my God, look at that name and tell me how the one that I would mispronounce is John. And I got the second one correct. It says, hey, DK, while I definitely want to see Fields back in Pittsburgh, do you think he carries enough weight to make Pittsburgh an attractive landing spot for potential big-name wide receivers? Now, I'm reminded of the past offseason when you heard of wide receivers talking about wanting to go to certain destinations. And one of them was Washington. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And you were like, Washington? Why? What's in Washington? Okay, guess what we found out was in Washington? Jaden Daniels, of course.
Yeah.
So these guys know. They don't wait for NFL games to start. They know each other from a lot of different environments, from colleges, from workout camps, from everything. And does it make a difference for a free agent? Yes. Yes, it does, Chris. Would it make a difference for this particular group? For Devontae Adams, it already did once. What about DK Metcalf?
Well, obviously, there's a big difference. Okay, just for DK Metcalf example, DK's played with Russ. He knows exactly what he's going to be getting with if Russ is his quarterback. That familiarity is just not the same with Justin Fields. That familiarity is not the same with Justin Fields for a lot of these receivers, if not all of them, because how many of them played in Chicago? Unless you're talking about a potential Garrett Wilson situation, which that's not going to happen, but somebody who's played with Justin. Now, that's also talking about the flip side of the Justin thing. Garrett Wilson's with the Jets, and the team to watch the most when it comes to Justin Fields is the Jets.
The Jets, yeah.
So there are two sides to that coin. But the best way I can put it when it comes to this topic is a lot players view each other a lot differently than fans view players. And I can tell you right now that there's a lot of respect for the way Justin Fields plays the game. There's a lot of respect for his talent level amongst players. And I don't think that if Justin Fields signs with the Steelers and he is dubbed anointed, whatever word you want to use, as the number one guy, the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback, that you're going to see a lot of receivers go, no thanks. Sorry.
It's just it's okay. I'm going to struggle to put this into words, and I'm probably going to challenge you to help me, Chris, since we both cover the team and we're both around him.
Yeah.
When it comes to Fields, he has a presence about him that's quiet and cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not chatty and it's not yippee-ki-yay the way it is with Russ. Okay.
Yeah.
Justin has a vibe around him. When you speak with Justin one-on-one, and I was doing that even through the time when he was out of the lineup and everything, you do most of the speaking. Notice that, Chris?
Yep.
He does the listening. He's not the one that's trying to sell you on anything. His eyes get wide. He stops in his tracks and locks in on you. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, I love the way Garrett put it there. It's quiet confidence. He doesn't need to be built up. And when he was out of the lineup, he didn't need to be placated or told that he's still awesome or he's the reason they started out 4-2 or whatever. Okay. He was just himself. He has that. The players love that about him. They will follow that onto the field and into the huddle and to the line of scrimmage and past the center quarterback exchange and make things happen. Do you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
I absolutely do. And actually, one of my favorite interviews that I did throughout this past season was with Justin. It was it ended up being a one-on-one that I had with him that I did for one of our Friday Insider features on DKPittsburghSports.com. And it was just talking about being in that situation where he started 6 games and had to take the back seat. You know, that was the decision that the coaching staff made. And you know, it was kind of looking back on how he handled that situation, how challenging it was, and what he learned from that, and the way he answered the questions, the way he was transparent about it. He didn't give me the PR fluff that you would normally get from a lot of players of being like, you know, well, I just got to be the consummate professional, blah, blah, blah. You could tell that it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing for him to deal with, but he dealt with it in the best way that he knew how to. And apparently the way that he dealt with it got a lot of thumbs up from the guys who make decisions on South Water Street, because they want him back. You know, that they love the way he handled that situation. And so, yeah, that I absolutely know what you're talking about. He's a very, very likable guy. We have to look past that as reporters. Like, we have to look past the guys who are likable or not likable.
To an extent, we're human. We're human.
Yeah, but you can see the reason why his teammates love him. And that part really is objective. And I can see, and again, I'm going to use this term is that they follow him. You know, I've heard stuff, especially from the offensive line guys. They're just they're ready to go to war for him. You know, and I like that. I like that a lot. Jason Williams has a good question. Says, DK, based on how long you've covered the Steelers, what's your feeling? Oh, he's looking for a prediction on the Steelers signing Fields by Tuesday. See how that sneaky way he comes in with you're all your experience and your wealth of knowledge and all that other stuff. He's just trying to get a prediction out of me. You're not going to get one. But he does make a good point here. He says they don't normally do these signings early, right? No, they don't. In fact, I think it's worth reminding people that Kevin Colbert's standard practice, and I know he's not around, just hear me out. One thing that KC would do, and he talked about this openly, was he would just cast them off to see. He would say, go to free agency. Find out what it is that you're worth. Just promise me you'll come back and at least give us a chance to either match or top it. Okay? Yeah.
Just do that. And his reasoning for that was he never wanted them to worry that, oh, man, what if I left something on the table? Because that's the thing that agents sell them on. I have no doubt right now, Chris, that David Mulugeta is filling Justin Fields' head up with, the Jets are going to give you 3 and 150 and whatever else, and you're going to be throwing that sort of thing around. It's in your head. And you don't want to sit there with Omar Khan this week and say to yourself, man, I don't know what's out there. I really don't. But, I like being here. I'm just going to sacrifice all this money to stay here. You don't want to have that thought cross your mind. So Kevin would basically take away that tactic from the agent. It was pretty smart if you think about it. He would just remove it. Listen, go find out. Yeah. Get yourself real offers and come back to me.
Yeah. Now, of course, you run the risk, because what if the player burns you? What if that can happen. And especially if you have an agent like Justin has, who likes to just get the best contract he can possibly get. I mean, we just saw the Browns restructure Deshaun Watson's contract yet again today, which means his cap hit in 2026 is going to be north of $81 million, which is hilarious. They're eventually going to run out.
Stops being hilarious.
They're going to run out of years in order to restructure that contract, and eventually he's going to have a cap hit that's going to flirt with $100 million.
I think civilization is going to run out of years before the Browns stop paying Deshaun.
Yeah, but that, I mean, that's the agent that negotiated that contract, that got that type of a contract. And if he believes that, he's like, hey, Justin, if we get to noon on Monday, whenever we're allowed to call the Jets, or the Jets are allowed to call us, and we are able to then talk, and they immediately come to us with an offer that we know the Steelers aren't going to match, that's what we need to wait this out for. And that might be the reason why you haven't seen it yet. That might be the reason why Justin hasn't signed yet. So there's a lot of people that are still worried about it, but again, it takes two to tango. If this were from just the Steelers' perspective, they're not sitting on their hands thinking like, do we want to sign Justin? Do we not? No, if they had it their way, Justin would already be re-signed. They would have him under contract. They would have their quarterback, and they would be able to immediately hit the ground running noon on Monday, no matter what, right, and be able to go get the one. But it takes two to tango to get these contracts done. And you're talking about an agent that likes to get the best contract that he can. I mean, players have actually fired him. T. Higgins fired him because of the type of contract that he wanted to try to get him. And T. Higgins was like, no, I want to get the right contract, not the best or what you deem to be the best contract. So yeah, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's we'll see how that all plays out. David Anzera says, glad to see Cole Holcomb is back. He was restructured by the Steelers today. They are expecting him to play in the 2025 season. Not that I would wish anything other than the best for Holcomb, but I will believe that when I see it. That was a monstrous injury.
Yeah,
that's difficult to imagine that anybody even taking an NFL snap after that. Useless Knowledge asks, hey, DK, at what point do we have to blame an owner for failing a team? Doesn't the buck really stop with Rooney? I don't know what you mean by at what point. That's been going on for some time now. It certainly has. Speaking for myself from this perspective, I don't like how lax, and I think that's the term here. There's a difference between fostering a culture of stability and just getting lazy. And I think that's the way to look at this. I think there's part of it is laziness, and I think part of it actually is frugality. I'm not talking about the payroll, of course, the player payroll. I'm talking about, that this bizarre policy where you bring in a coach and you absolutely, not a head coach, and you absolutely refuse to fire him unless their contract has expired. I mean, he actually blurted that out at one point in January, Chris. I knew that policy existed, but he threw it out there. Somebody, I don't remember who, when we were in that room, and he was asked about which coaches might be in trouble, whatever. And the beginning of his response, not to play gotcha with him or whatever, but the beginning of his response was something akin to, well, we have a couple of guys on expiring contracts, meaning making it sound as if those were the only ones that could possibly be in trouble. And that's not good enough. What he's done in his role as owner has not been good enough.
No, that part is definitely been I think that the area that he deserves the most criticism. It's the same thing that I say when we talk about Mike Tomlin and where he deserves the most criticism. For me, it is during this time in which, he's been 3-9 in the playoffs since the last Super Bowl appearance, and they've gone 8 straight seasons out winning a playoff game. To me, the biggest area of criticism for him is the fact that the defense should be better since he's a defensive head coach.
Right.
But when you're talking about, Art Rooney II and his biggest criticism, it's that right there. It's being completely unwilling to make a change because he's still got more time left on his contract, because you don't want to pay 2 guys to do the same job.
Right.
And that's just not good enough, because this is my guessing. This is my conjecture here. But if I truly believe that if Mike Tomlin had his way, he would have fired Matt Canada before the season, in which he ended up firing him mid-season anyway. I truly believe that. I really believe that was more of an Art decision than it was a Tomlin decision. There's this whole thing about like Tomlin was buddies with Canada, but I don't think it was. I think that's a little overinflated, to be completely honest. I really think that was more about the contract situation.
When it became, oh God, we're not getting into Matt Canada. We're not doing that today. Honestly, there's so much of a negative vibe or whatever. The one thing that I look forward to more than anything else, Chris, is that at some point or other in this month, presuming Fields is retained, because if Fields isn't retained, I think there's going to be just an overwhelming negativity that's even going to top what we're experiencing right now. But if Fields is retained, you still have the rest of that money to spend on free agency, and you do, and you bring in a player that actually excites people, or you bring home a Javon Hargrave or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just want some of these people can start smiling and stop sending us things like, should they trade TJ Watt? Okay. No offense. Okay?
The answer is no.
I mean,
yeah.
Or like this, trade Watt, sign Metcalf, as if one has anything to do with the other. They have $60 million in cap space. You don't
more
need
than that now.
Right. You don't need to free up anything.
No.
Go ahead.
I would just say and the thing is that we see, like, after the Cole Holcomb revised contract today, they've got almost $64 million in cap space. There are still other guys they can cut. There are still contracts they can restructure. We're talking about they could create as much as about $80 to $90 million in cap space to do whatever they want to do. We're talking about ultimate flexibility here. No matter what they do at quarterback,
it's a heck of an environment. And one of the things that, again, that has to happen is there has to be something that starts spinning it back in the other direction, meaning the momentum, including the outside feel and everything. This is uncommon. This is not just Steelers fans being Steelers fans. This is uncommon. I've been covering this team since 1997. And I've not experienced something like this, not to mention having lived here my whole life. And I've not seen the fan base this upset. Now, again, most of that is about aimed at Tomlin. Of course, not from Spice. She's always in Tomlin's corner here. Actually, look at the feistiness with which she comes here. Y'all need to get over Tomlin not getting fired. Why are y'all still talking about that? It's not us. No. It's not us. I had that out.
Yeah.
Okay. I said my piece. I thought the Steelers should have made a change right then and there, but oh my goodness, everyone else, it doesn't stop. There's almost not another subject. The Justin thing's actually been a blessing, in that regard here. Let's see. We can take one more question here. It's not going to be Spice coming at everybody. We're going to see what else we can find. Shaka Steele asks, this is a good one here. With Holcomb being retained, will this spell the end of Landon Roberts? Man, I hope not. I would hope that the team that just got hit for how many yards did the Ravens have against them in Baltimore again, Chris? I can't seem to remember. Was it 300 exactly? Was it 300? Or was it one fewer, perhaps?
299 rushing yards.
It's amazing. And there's a kneel down in there that's actually worth investigating, the kneel down. Because did the kneel down, they're almost always a -1 on a score sheet, right? Is that correct?
I'm sorry. My internet might be cutting in and out.
Okay.
My internet might be cutting in and out right now, so I'm not. Yeah.
If a kneel down is almost always a -1 on the score sheet, right? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. Usually it's -1. Sometimes it can be -2. Most of the time it's -1. Yeah.
So that means it actually was 300 yards for those of you who want to get technical. No, you do not let in Landon Roberts go. You do not let in Landon Roberts go. You do not let your best run guy, your human missile guy, go somewhere else in that environment. And especially not if you're counting on a guy to come back, again, respectfully and everything else, from just a devastating, not just a football injury, but a human injury. That's a tough one to deal with here. Let's do one more, Chris.
And yeah, I don't think just really quick, I don't think keeping Cole Holcomb just means that Landon Roberts is gone. No, I don't think that means that whatsoever.
I'm going to find one more here that would involve Chris here. Give me a second to poke through here. Wasn't Roberts there for that 299? Yeah, he was, Danny.
He was.
If you think that was on Roberts, you need to watch that film again.
It was on a lot of guys.
It was on a lot of people, and Landon took it hard too. By the way, I'm not exempting him from that at all here. Here is Mike asks if we can't sign Justin Fields and we do have to get a rookie. This is perfect for you, Chris, having been at Mobile and having been in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. Who is the best quarterback that can be had out of the rookie class without some dramatic trade up to, number 2, number 3 overall?
There's a huge debate about that because there's not one that really stands alone when it comes to who the Steelers could possibly get. Now, there's been some people who have floated. I want to say people, I mean people who like to study the draft and make their own mock drafts and predict. So that's what I'm talking about. That like to try to put Shadir Sanders at number 21, and I'm sorry, I just cannot get on board with that. I don't think he's a first-round quarterback. I don't care who his dad was or who his dad is. I'm sorry, I cannot get on board with that. To me, there's one first-round quarterback in this class, and he's going to be gone before the Steelers pick at 21, and that's Cam Ward out of Miami. So, Tyler Shaw out of Louisville. Like maybe late day 2, early day 3.
This is the old guy?
Yeah.
Old guy.
Yeah.
No.
He's got really intriguing arm talent. His mobility is really underrated.
Does some different things, that's for sure, with that experience. Yeah. But I'm sorry, I can't help but think Brandon Weeden.
I mean, but that's why you don't use a high pick on any of these quarterbacks, because if you use a first or a second round pick, you're forced to give him the Kenny treatment. So you're forced to okay, we got to give him a good long runway of time to see if he takes off. And you don't necessarily have to do that with a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick. If you are lucky enough to get Jackson Dart in the 4th round, okay, then maybe that's worth it. Maybe because Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, like, he's got enough talent where if he's still there in the 4th round, yeah, I'll take the flyer on him. Sure. 4th round pick doesn't always have to turn into a starter. And if this guy turns into a quarterback, then great. We got a quarterback in the 4th round, but it's also not a bust either. You don't have to worry about a 1st or 2nd round pick being wasted.
Exactly. Chris, I appreciate the time. We'll do this again tomorrow. And everyone else, hang on. We're going to take care of some business here in the next segment. And see that number over there? The 3,000? Am I pointing in the wrong direction again? Do you ever try this? Okay, see how it works now? Look at that. 3,000. We actually had a pretty nice little turn yesterday in this regard for building up a membership. The way to do that, first off, there it is right there from the boss, 802 total memberships. That was up 50 plus from the day before. It was a really nice surge, the biggest one we've had in a while. Out of that, there's 711 of those are recurring, meaning you came in and signed up. 91 of those were given out as gifts. All of them are appreciated, and all of them are part of building this up into what we hope will become the predominant community here on YouTube as far as talking about the Steelers. We're going to be here. The plan is every day. That doesn't mean we're always going to pull it off. There's circumstances, there's travel. You guys know I also cover the Penguins and the Pirates. But we're gonna make every effort to be here every day for you, and we want to hear what it is that you have to say, what it is that you have as ideas for this program, what you want to talk about in terms of, even what it is that we're talking about. I don't even just mean Steelers; it can be whatever. As Ryan Lytle, who's been here for almost 2 years with us as a member, points out, it's 99 cents a month. That's it. And the way to do it is to go to dkps.net/join. I've had some people bringing up here that, what do I get for it? That's going to evolve over time. What we're letting you know in advance is that there are going to be exclusive shows that are for members only. There's going to be exclusive chats that are for members only. We're going to lean toward picking submissions from members like Mark Leslie here that, make it onto the show as opposed to the ones that don't. Why? It kind of makes things a whole lot tighter. I love this though from Useless Knowledge. Says, if you're not a member, you're going to be getting banned here soon. Useless Knowledge is a member who also happens to have, in addition to a great moniker, a great sense of humor. We're not banning anybody, but there is going to be a leaning toward the people who are the ones that are supporting us more than anything else. So dkps.net/join is the place to go. I'm just going to try to answer a couple other common questions that have come in. One is, if you have a membership to the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers channel on YouTube, does it carry over to our Penguins and Pirates one? The answer is no, because it can't. There's not a mechanism for us to do that if we wanted to. They're literally separate channels, but those won't cost any different than this. So if you wanted to be one of those, Ryan Lytle does point out correctly that you will be chastised as uncles, and that'll be done by Ramon Foster. Another question that I've been getting asked is, does it have anything to do with the actual DK Pittsburgh Sports subscription, meaning our app and our website? And no, and again, it's because it can't. There's no commerce connection between the two. We will discount your membership to DK Pittsburgh Sports if you sign up here with us on YouTube. All you got to do is shoot me an email. And the other question that I get, and I'm pretending that this isn't the most common question, is, where's Ramon? What happened to Ramon Foster? Ramon's fine. Ramon was ready to do the show Wednesday, and then at the last minute, he got called away doing work. Stop with the conspiracy theories. This show is not here to replace Ramon or anything. We love Ramon. Ramon's not going anywhere, okay? Fred lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee with Ramon. All Fred has to do is go knock on his door and say, "Hey, Moan, what's up?" And Moan will be there. Moan's not going anywhere. He just happens to have taken on a lot of other shots. A lot of other gigs in little parts and pieces. So don't worry about him. Anyway, guys, we will do this again tomorrow, the Friday show. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for becoming members above all. Once more, it's dkps.net/join.